Hi everybody, this is a follow-up to my original video, Pup 16PFBL, Factory Defects and Poor Workmanship. This video is about upgrades you can do to make your life a lot more comfortable. First off, on this side, this is where you add water, but due to the design, it's almost impossible to completely fill the tank. This keeps burping back out again. So I've just gotten this little piece of tubing and added a hose fitting to the end of it. And this reaches right into the bottom of the tank, and while it still is a very slow process, at least you can get the tank completely full. Moving around to the only cargo hatch on the unit. At the back is a panel. You can just see the black shiny there. That panel covers the water heater, and it's cut on an angle with one screw on the cleat and the other screw right into the side front portion of the trailer. If you cut it a little bit shorter and add a second cleat to make it a 90-degree fit, you'll gain a little bit of cargo space. This is for the stabilizers. I never use it. I always use an impact wrench now. A lot of people do that. But if I ever need it, that's where it is, easy to find. And here, the black handle there is for the equalizer hitch, stowed neatly out of where I can always find it. It actually goes into a little cleat in the top, which you can see there. And the other handle there, that is for the electric hoist for the hoist out front, for the hitch out front. So if I ever have the misfortune of actually having to use that, at least I know exactly where it is, and in the meantime, it's out of the way of everything. Moving on back a little bit, now this is a 120 volt fridge. That's built into the side, and the problem with it is if you drive down a typical road, it'll pop open slightly when the unit is being transported and everything inside thaws out. So I just got some foam rubber and glued it onto the door there. It's kind of unsightly, but it does the trick and allows me to get from place to place with some of the things yet intact. And here's another tip that I have had on every camper I've owned. I just drill a little hole right there, put it with this end cap in place, and drill a hole right through and put a cotter pin in to keep these things from falling out and getting lost on the highway. We'll go inside now. There's a number of things I want you to see. First off, as we enter, just added a number of little hooks to hang garbage bag, fly swatter, shoe horn, just every little odd and end you can imagine. I also have the torpedo level hanging on its own little jack down there, so it's handy to get to, never lost. This broom, by the way, is a full-length broom that I cut in half, and I just adjusted the handle on it, so it's always in the way as well. Additionally, it's good to label things where you can't read the labels or they aren't labeled. That's the power shut off for the unit, so it's good to know where that is. I've done the same thing up here for the water heater. No indication from the manufacturer or from the dealer as to what that switch was actually for. So I found out by kind of trial and error, but did label it so that at least in the future, if somebody else tries to use it, they'll know what it's for. One more thing in the kitchen. You would think that people who design these things have never ever been in a kitchen in their life or in a camper out camping. They don't include paper towel holders. I got this one at a place we have up here called Crazy Bins. I think I paid $2 for it. You can get it also on Amazon. You'll pay more than $2 there, but at least you can be able to get one and install it. And keeping on with my theme about they don't ever actually go in a camper, these drawers under here were both just empty cupboards before. I bought a couple of hinges, turned them sideways. I bought this cutlery rack. This piece here was originally mounted here. I cut it off, stuck it on the side, and adhered it to it with some very strong adhesive. I then cut a piece of wood, the shape of the cutlery tray, glued the entire thing to it, and we also have some 4 screws holding it to the hinges. So now, with the sink being right there, cutlery trays right there, you do your dishes, in they go. Very nice and handy. And on the same theme, I used to keep all of my dishes way over there in a couple of bins underneath that storage drawer. Very inconvenient to get to, very inconvenient to put stuff back. So I just built some little L support wooden brackets. I don't think we'll be able to see them in there. I can just catch these, a bit of a glimpse of them. They hold a couple of hinges, one down each side, of course. I then simply built a box, put the box on there, Got this cupboard there, this container that fits fine, and then the rest of the stuff just fits in there very nicely. Again, very, very handy, and gets things out of the way. These have never been a problem, so they're really good. Moving to the washroom, there are a number of things. Forest River does not include a mirror, so here's a mirror. And just to make sure, we got another one. Moving into the main area of the washroom, we've also added a number of hangers so that we have a place for hand towels. And this one in particular, we just use those golf towels that you get handed out when you go into tournaments a lot. And so that's good for in the evening. When you get up, use the washroom, just rinse your hands out. Speaking of which, these little sinks, which have no taps to them, always leak. So we just put a container of store-bought soup in there and top it up with water periodically, and that's a good place to quickly rinse your hands. You could use this to fill that. The problem is when you run water through that, it continuously leaks for some time afterwards, just as it drains out. So that's not the best setup. Always good to have some of those things in those little stickies in the bottom of the tub to keep them falling down. Again, apparently they don't know what toilet paper is at Forest River because they don't provide a place to put it. So we just got this little rack, and again, I got mine at storage at Bins, Crazy Bins. But again, Amazon has them online and work perfectly well. Get it up and out of the way. This is for dirty clothes. It's just a large shopping bag, and then again, another hook. Here's another couple of hooks just to hang towels from. This unit here I built myself. It's I basically bought a 1x6 by 6 foot fence board and ripped it down to size. I have a tool called a Craig tool, which allows you to make these nice little corners, screw them together. And then I just had some extra particle board kicking around, which I made the infill for the doors out of. It's, there's no storage whatsoever in these washrooms, absolutely nothing. It's just ridiculous. But now I've got a spot to tuck stuff in. I happen to find some of these little trays that fit perfectly, just handy as all get out. Just a couple more things I want to show you. These are the pantry doors, and as mentioned in my other video, when the slide comes in, it comes in all the way to about here. You can't get past it. So if these doors bump open in transit, one of the problems you face is that they get stuck behind the behind the slide, which is fully retracted inside the camper. When you go to open the slide, you can't see if this door is open or not. And as a consequence, as the slide moves out, it hooks on the door. And that causes all sorts of havoc. It kicks the motor of the slide out immediately. It will bend the hinges, so you'll have to replace the hinges here. And that's just a bad piece of design. A couple of things I've done to fix that, I've detailed in the other video, is add some extra catches in there, of course. There's 3 of them in there. But then I realized that the additional problem could be the things that are being stored sliding forward and hitting the back of the panel. This is only less than 1/4 of an inch, this lip right here. That's not stopping anything from sliding forward. Similarly, if these things extend out as they slightly do, they'll overhang that and hit the door. So I've made these little pieces of wood up. You can see. I'm going to nail them in after I've completed this video. They just fit neatly in there, and I've got them for all 4 of the doors. Fit neatly in, if they would go. There we go. So they extend the height of this by about an additional 3/8 inch, and they also are about 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches deep. So that allows a little bit more room for those things to hopefully be all right. I'm going to come over here now. My other video talked about the problems we had with USB ports. This particular one, you'd plug something in, the lights would flicker in the camper, so it had to be replaced. But I guess what I want to point out on this one is what a horrible location that is. If you're sitting here, that is totally useless to you. From the factory, that should have been located dead center, so anybody sitting at the table, assuming you have 4 people, would have been able to use it. It's an awful lot of work to try and move it, which is why I haven't done it. But anyway, in the future, hopefully somebody gives that a little more thought. Similarly, here's another USB port. This one actually heated up and felt like it was going to burst into flames, so I replaced it too. But I just want you to notice one thing, and I have the bed kind of torn apart for the next thing I'm going to show you. On this side, there is no USB port. That side USB port, this side no USB port. If there are 2 people in this bed, they each need a USB port to plug in their phones and stuff at night, or whatever they happen to be watching, perhaps a tablet or something. So apparently who designed this thing has never ever had a relationship with another person, and never will, because otherwise they would have thought to put a USB port on the other side. Their Saturday nights are spent playing video games. 2 more things, and then I'm going to wrap this up. First off, these are really nice lights. I really like them. Only problem is They were originally located here. Here, they're ideally located to illuminate your groin when you're lying in bed. Nobody wants that. Here, they're ideally located to illuminate the book that you're reading if you happen to be reading a paper book or something. So the trick is very, very simple, and that is to simply unscrew them, drill a couple of holes using a proper hole saw, which takes 1 second and makes a very nice, neat hole, and simply reroute them back there. It takes about 10 minutes to do the entire job for both of them. The next step, of course, is what do you do with these holes? One would assume that a factory would be using a hole saw. They don't. They use a beaver, and they hold it up there and wait for it to chew its way through the bottom, leaving a horrible gash in there, which you cannot possibly cut a piece of any material to properly fill. So I had to make these little round discs. You simply paint them black and use as a 2-part glue to hold them on. Nobody even notices them unless you're lying in the bed, and even then it doesn't really matter. It's all right. The last thing I want to show you is, and I will just pull this bit out of the way. This is called a jackknife mattress because underneath here there is a sofa. To set the sofa up, the mattress flips back over onto itself. It's hinged in the middle, and then you set the sofa up so you can sit on it. I'm introducing you to the worst mattress that has ever been made and ever put in an RV. There's a gap in the middle, and it cuts right across the top of your hips. If you can still walk in the morning after you're done sleeping in that thing, you're a miracle worker. So I tried a few solutions, added 3 inches of memory foam. I recommend 4 inches, but the real solution was getting a couple of pool noodles and taping them together. I think you can see the tape there. That's hockey tape. That's a thing up here in Canada. And tucking them in there. That led to another problem we discovered, though, and that there's quite a gap between where the sofa ends and where the wooden support structure for the top half of the mattress begins. To solve that, I put a double layer of cardboard right across, and as you can see, another pool noodle, and that is tied into place. You can just see the top of the ties there to keep the cardboard from moving around. Probably wouldn't have thought of that if I hadn't accidentally bought 3 pool noodles. Those are a few things that I've done to improve this trailer. Now that all the factory defects and extremely poor workmanship have been taken care of, as detailed in my other video, and I've added a few other things, I'm really starting to enjoy this unit. We've done a lot of miles on it. Up here in Canada, our camping season is quite short in Western Canada, and so we've got an awful lot of time in it, and we've really been enjoying it and having a good time with it. The defect should never have happened. That was a factory mistake and a dealer mistake. But they are detailed in my other video should you want to watch it. That's all for now.